At the beginning of this month in June, I picked up a copy of Ninja Shadow from GameStop's website. And the reason why I picked it up was because I thought it was a reasonable price. At the time, GameStop had Ninja Shadow listed at just $49.99. And for those of you who know, Ninja Shadow is a game that typically goes for somewhere between $69.99 and maybe $75 on the aftermarket. The aftermarket being eBay or Facebook Marketplace. Pretty much the market rate for this game is roughly around $70. So when I saw that they had it for $49.99, and then of course you get the pro member discount, so I was able to get it for $47.50. To me, it seemed like a pretty good deal, and so I was willing to take the risk in purchasing the cartridge because I don't mind purchasing my cartridge-based games loose. And when it came, it was actually a pretty decent copy of Ninja Gaiden Shadow. I was really happy to have it because I do still collect for the original Game Boy, and I was pretty stoked. And I added it to the collection, and I've been playing it ever since. Another game that I picked up earlier this month, or actually a couple months ago, was Metroid Zero Mission. And when I picked up Metroid Zero Mission, this was actually an in-store pickup, and I purchased this game for around 34.99. And then of course you get your GameStop discount. And I think at the time they were either having the buy more, save more, or some type of promotion going on. So this game wound up coming in at somewhere between like 25 and 28 bucks, which I thought was a pretty outstanding price for Metroid Zero Mission. Again, Metroid Zero Mission isn't a really expensive game, but it can typically land somewhere between $60 and $70. And I thought, getting both of these games from GameStop in this condition at the prices that they were offering them was a good deal. Now, somebody in my comment section over the weekend, and I get this from time to time, they call me a GameStop shill and that I talk about GameStop a lot. Well, no, I'm just showing you guys that it's still possible to get games underpriced, quality games for under market price on GameStop's website. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that GameStop is starting to raise prices and they're catching on to what some of these games are going for. Now, this isn't new. GameStop has been raising prices steadily for the last 5 years. Of course, we saw the big boom with the retro video game market. And although GameStop was late to the game, at this point in their retro journey, they're really trying to capture as much value as they can for all of these retro games, especially the ones that are rare. Now, you can still catch GameStop slipping on games like Ninja Shadow because they don't sell this game enough to really keep up with the price. But what I've noticed is that once they've sold a game like one or two times, someone in their back end is looking up the price for these games and then they start to mark them up. And I don't know if they base that on how quickly some of these games sell. Maybe they look at a game that sells really fast and think to themselves, well, maybe we have a price too low, and then maybe they check price charting or they check eBay last sold and then they adjust the price. But as of this morning, I did see a copy of Ninja Shadow on GameStop's website. Again, the only difference is that instead of the game being $49.99, now it's $69.99. So you're gonna pay $20 more, less than 2 weeks, removed from when this game was $50. And GameStop is continuing to increase these prices in real time. Another game that it rose in price was Metroid Zero Mission. Whereas Metroid Zero Mission was only $34.99, they bumped this one up by $10. And now Metroid Zero Mission is $44.99 if you go to purchase it on GameStop's website. And these are two quality games, some really awesome one-player games that you can play handheld, and I still believe in collecting for traditional handheld consoles. Now, I expect to see this continue, and there's one game in particular that I expect to see this really continue with, and I wouldn't doubt that this game would go up in price, and that is with this one right here. So Batman the Animated Series. Now, right now, GameStop has Batman the Animated Series priced. I want to say they have this one priced at $44.99. But for those of you who know, GameStop recently peaked. Like earlier in this year, copies of this game were going for somewhere between $100 and $120 loose for Batman the Animated Series. Understandably so. This is the most fun Batman game you can purchase on the original Game Boy, in my opinion. A very close second is Batman Return of the Joker. Then you have Batman the movie, and then you have Batman Forever, which in my opinion is the worst Batman game on the original Game Boy. But this is a very fun game, and understandably so, it is priced higher. Now, those prices have come down as more copies seem to have been entering the market, especially on eBay. And so prices have come down somewhere between like $70 and $75 for this game. Nevertheless, if you can get a $70 to $75 game for $44 or $40 when you consider discounts from being a pro member, and then if you have, rewards points and things like that that you can burn, you can get this game as low as $20 or so. And so if you can get a $20, or if you can get a game that normally goes for 70 or 75 bucks for $20, that's a win for you as a collector. But I do anticipate them raising the price on Batman the Animated Series the same way they raised the price on Ninja Gaiden Shadow. I wouldn't be shocked if this game goes for somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 in the near future. It's just the way things go, and it's just the direction that GameStop has been moving in. Now, I've been picking up a few other games here and there from their website, and I did have a few that came in over the weekend, including Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, which was one that I ordered online. That one came in. I did get Pokemon Silver back into the collection. And then I got a copy of Gunstar Superheroes for the Game Boy Advance. This was a game that I had in my original collection. I had a bunch of really good run and gun shooters on the Game Boy Advance in my old collection, including Gunstar Superheroes, Metal Slug Advance, Contra Advance. There's just a number of really awesome run and gun shooters on the Game Boy Advance. And to be honest, Turok is an awesome run and gun shooter. That game is so underrated, and I'm probably going to do a video specifically on that. But I wouldn't be shocked if games like Gunstar Superheroes and some of these Pokemon games start to go up in price. Now, Pokemon has been roughly between 45 or 49 and $55 for like the last couple years on GameStop. GameStop typically sells Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, and Silver for between 45 and like $60 or so. But if the market starts to shift on these games, which there's no telling what will happen, I could easily see GameStop trying to price adjust and make sure that they squeeze every last dime that they can. And I think this is a big indicator of, again, GameStop trying to squeeze as much value as they can out of this side of their inventory. Used games are pure profit for GameStop. Pure profit. I mean, the purest profit you can think of. When you're buying these games for pennies on the dollar and reselling them to idiots like me, then that's a no-brainer. And I think for a long time, GameStop has realized that folks like me have been gaming the system. We've been waiting for buy two, get one promos. We've been leveraging our rewards points. We've been doing the buy more, save more. We've been doing all the things that we know how to do to get a lot of these games at, a fraction of what their price charting values go for. And I think they're really trying to put that to an end. This week, again, I was just reminded when I saw that price difference, which to me, 20 going from, $50 to $70 is a pretty big price jump. It's almost 50% more than what it was just 2 weeks ago, which is a huge jump. And that's just an indicator of things to come. So let me know if you've noticed any other games that have jumped in price. I know I've seen it with Metroid Zero Mission. I've definitely seen it with Ninja Gaiden Shadow. Let me know what you're seeing. Also, I did drop a post. If you're still watching the video, thank you for sticking around. But I did post that I am looking for a video editor. I need someone to edit videos. I'm looking for someone that I can collaborate with. I'm paying for these services. I'm not asking anyone to do any of this for free. I'm not asking you to do this so that I can give you a shout out. No, I am looking for video editors that I can pay to help me with some of the different type of content that I'm trying to start to put out during the second half of 2026. So I'm currently working on some scripts. I'm thinking of some concepts. There's definitely some ideas that I want to share with you guys. And the main reasoning behind all of this is I really want to make sure that I'm providing you guys with as much value as I can. Every time you click on one of my videos, value is what I'm going for. Even if it's just me sharing some information that I see or sharing something that I notice, definitely just trying to keep you guys in the loop. But again, if you are a video editor, if you edit, please hit me up on Instagram. My Instagram link is in my bio. Hit me up on Instagram, drop me a DM. Let me know what you do. I'd love to see some of your work, and we can talk about, what I'm trying to do. Maybe we can get on a Zoom call or on a Skype or something and try to make that happen. But until then, I will catch you guys in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.